Hey, this is Peter from Darkane and James LaBrie. You're listening to Metal Wani.
Peter, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you, man?
I am doing great. How's it going? You've been busy. Entire 2013 has been
Yep.
completely packed for you. So, what's happening lately?
It's been a great year actually with recordings with James LaBrie and with Darkane, and we released I released two albums this summer, one with
Right.
James and one with Darkane, as you said, and that I've been doing like a lot of drum clinics
Mm-hmm.
and drum festivals and stuff like that. So
Right.
it's been a packed year in 2013, and so far 2014 is starting like quite calm for January, February. So I'm right now I'm actually practicing for the first time in many years. And like new stuff, and I'm working in drum books and stuff like that because
Yeah.
I bought an electronic drum kit here at home,
Mm-hmm.
so I can practice, yeah, at home, so I don't have to go to the rehearsal space all the time.
Right.
So I'm just trying to come up with some new ideas now. And then we're going tour in March. We're going to go on tour with Darkane together with Swordwork in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully after that, there will be summer
Right.
festivals and
Rock
stuff like that.
festivals. Right.
So I guess it's going to be, pretty busy this year too, I guess.
That's great, and it's surprising to to hear from a drummer that he's practicing after so many years. You've been on the road, you've been busy in the studio. Do you sometimes feel that you practice very less, or you don't practice at all?
Definitely. As I consider practicing, I do make a difference between practicing and playing, and yes, keeping your chops and keeping your beats, but I mean, like practicing new stuff that I
Hmm.
that I haven't practiced before. That's very rare. I do it. Sometimes you do it on tour when you have the time, or when you have like a practice kit with you or stuff like that.
Right.
But most of the time, you're just trying to keep up, with the stuff you're actually playing live. And of course, when you do, like a recording of a new album or something, you have to come up with new ideas for songs and new beats, but it's not really practicing. It's more like composing in a way, I guess.
True.
Drum
Right.
parts, but this time around, I because I really love to practice. I actually told like a drum friend here, we were talking about it, and I actually told him like, it sometimes it feels like I'm at my happiest moment when I actually practice. I do love playing live and recording and stuff,
Right.
but the feeling when you've been practicing for an hour, a couple of hours or something, and then you suddenly know that I actually learned something now that I couldn't play like 2 hours ago, and now I can nail it.
Right.
That feeling is like, I think that's an amazing feeling, actually.
That truly
I
is.
love it.
That's wonderful. Now, in fact, I've heard a lot of people telling that Peter is a hard hitter, is a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
So do you feel you're just a drummer, or probably you write your own music on drums?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, uh, I do. I consider myself a drummer, of course, and it depends on also the playing depends on what style of music, of course, that you're playing,
Hmm.
and to me, I would say, I work at like a high school, so I work as a mathematics and drum teacher at this school,
Hmm.
so and of course it's not like a metal school, so we play everything, from they
Jazz,
teach
blues, everything.
jazz, blues and rumba clave, and stuff. They play rumba and songo and stuff, Latin stuff and jazz stuff, So, but I mean, I'm of course most known for playing hard, and playing heavy music, and I do like it. I'm very kind of picky with my drum sound
Hmm.
at points, and how it sounds acoustically, and I also think that heavier music kind of demands like a heavier hit, so.
Right. So
So
you got the title heavy hitter.
yeah, probably yeah.
Wonderful. Now, like as we're talking about the different kind of musics you've been practicing. So, you know, I think most new kinds of music are basically fusion of already existing musical styles.
Yeah,
So, in your opinion, which musical style do you think has a biggest potential to probably enhance?
Oh man, there are so many. As you said, everything is almost today is a fusion. I mean, it's not like people are inventing like reggae or
Right.
like hard rock music. It's almost. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's everything is like a fusion. And like like a couple of years ago, this big thing happened with the dubstep. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
dance thing. And Skrillex and all that. But I mean, music wise, the music is still, the notes are kind of, familiar with dance music, and it's a mix of actually kind of metal music too, but it's
Hmm.
more about the sounds than it's actually the music. So,
Hmm.
but I would say today, at least here in Sweden, and I guess a lot of Europe and the US too,
Right.
I mean, really, metal music has really grown a lot here. I mean, as I said, I work at a high school, and the students are between 16 and 19 years old. And
Hmm.
then I would say, and today the big difference is that so many people listening to different kinds of metal music, especially the more modern stuff, like
Right.
like different kind of core stuff, and
Progressive
stuff like
math metal and stuff like that.
exactly stuff like that. And gent is like huge and stuff. And
Yes.
nowadays you can't really tell by looking at the kids, because I'm still like trapped in the 90s. I get with my with my long hair, and stuff like.
Right.
And there are so many kids today. They more look like straight edge kind of hardcore people,
Hmm.
and everybody listens to a lot of metal music, at least here in Sweden. So I think there's still a lot of potential for metal music, and especially with with the more melodic approach that a lot of bands have. And
Hmm.
but the thing that I really love about it is like a lot of music, even music like dubstep and metal music, as you said, math
Math
metal and
metal.
stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
It's really getting bigger, and I think it's getting away from the the not so complicated and not so demanding kind of music to
Right.
a way more demanding music. I mean, there are a lot of bands that really takes a lot of interest from the listener to be able to catch what's happening. And I really like
Absolutely.
that the kind of progressive style is being kind of a more mainstream, and people are liking it, and
Right.
that I think that's really cool, actually.
That's absolutely true. Now you've been playing drums for so many years, so many decades, and
Yeah.
you have seen people now, like you said, you see the bunch of kids, the
Yep.
drummers, and you won't even get to know whether they play drums. So it's kind of become like people are more eager to play technical, complex, drumming
Yep.
rather than concentrating on the basics first.
I
So
think, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
yeah. So, how do you feel about it looking back at how things had started decades ago and how it's now?
I mean, I think like the biggest difference when I grew up, learning and the basics and stuff like that is there were no YouTube and there were no internet, and no, it's not possible to hear music. I don't know if you guys have Spotify and stuff like that.
Oh, no Spotify that time, that's for sure.
No, and so there was nothing, and the only way I got in contact with metal music were through a record store that I went to once a week. When
Hmm.
I was in town, I went to this music store, and the girl who was working there, she presented new kinds of music to
Music,
me,
right?
and I didn't know shit, about how to develop double bass playing. I even didn't know there were like double pedals and stuff,
Hmm.
back then. So and today everything is like so more accessible.
Accessible,
You can
right?
reach, and you can reach everything, and so I think in a way it's easier to learn a lot of stuff, of course, today. But as you also said, it's some of the kids actually miss out on the basics because they
Yes,
see kind of, they search for double bass drumming and fast feet or something on YouTube,
yes,
and then they get some kind of introduction maybe, but then they probably start learning. Some people, at least, because some of the students I have, they are very, very good at playing a specific style of music. Let's say some kind of metal stuff or
hmm,
something. But then when you tell them to play like a paradiddle or I know you're a drummer too. Yeah,
yes.
you are. Yeah. So I mean, somebody, if you go back to the basics and tell them to play like a paradiddle with their hands and maybe add some accents to it,
Right.
and they're lost. Even though they're maybe very, very, great at playing with their band, but so in a way, I think the way I learned playing drums, going to like a drum teacher, and learning, starting with the basics and growing up, it's just a different way of thinking. I don't know if it's better or worse or anything, but it's definitely different today. You can, you can reach everything so easy by just clicking on a computer.
Absolutely right.
But I also think that a big difference actually is also that people today think that by clicking on a link on YouTube, they will instantly know the stuff, and they want to know everything, and then they don't want to spend a lot of time. And I mean, with the traditions that you guys have with Indian music, and they had to learn Tal and stuff like that.
Yes.
And it's a huge system that take years to learn, and kids don't want they
don't want to do that. In fact,
no, they don't. No,
I've come across many people. I go to different gigs which happen in the city. I see people just concentrating on playing double bass. They just want to reach 200 BPM, 250 BPM. It's all about speed, but it's all about speed. Yeah. They don't concentrate on the grooves, and they don't concentrate on let's get the basics right first, and then move on to the technical aspect.
Exactly, and I mean, I think it's that's kind of sad in a way. I think everything needs to be achieved so fast, and as you said, there is a lot of focus on speed today, and not so much about groove or creativity and stuff like that. And those are more the parts that I actually enjoy the most. I would say.
Absolutely, that's really great. Now let's get back to Darkane, and the Sense to Supremacy was a really good album. So after listening to the final result, you must have kind of felt that there are a few songs which have affected you the most. So which songs are they?
Oh yeah, I mean, for the first time in quite a few years with Darkane, I have to say that we were really happy with more or less the whole album this time around, I would say.
That's great.
So, because the last time when we did Demonic Art, the previous album, it kind of felt like, when we were trying to pick songs, to play live, everybody went like, I don't know if I want to play any of those songs on that album, And this time around, it really felt like all of the songs were like, great songs, and very much, of course, also, thanks to Lawrence doing a great job on the vocal parts, I think so. But to me, I like the first few songs on the album, like the Sinister Supremacy. I think that's a very typical Darkane song,
right?
The fast skank beats and the big chorus, melodic chorus and stuff like that. And some, so I think that's a really great song, and I really like Ostracized too. I think that's more like a groovier, kind of heavier song,
right?
And I like that too. And the Decline was actually very fun to play too. It's a great drum part, and it's not a ballad, of course, but it's a ballad considering it's Darkane, I would say.
Right.
But so there are actually quite a few songs, and there are also like parts in different songs that I enjoy. That I was really happy with. Like for example, By Darkness Designed, it's just like a fast song, but at the very end, like the last 3 seconds of the song, it's like I'm really happy with the drum parts there. It's like a Tony Williams, Vinnie Colaiuta kind of blushta, this blushta thing,
right,
that I threw in, and I think that's kind of original for being a metal band. So
yeah, that's really cool. And in fact, it's been like 5 years was the gap between the two albums, and I felt that the batteries were recharged as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, really, when we got Lawrence back on vocals, because he was the original singer on the first album, Rusted Angel. So, and when we got him back, he was like fueled with energy, and he really actually, when Andreas left the band in I think that was in 2007. So that was at the point when Lawrence heard about it. He thought that, I would really like to get back into the band, but we already had contact with Jens and didn't know that Lawrence was interested in going back to the band. And when Jens moved, and he concentrated on his work and stuff, so but at that point we actually contacted Lawrence, and he was very eager to get back in the band. And I would say that was the main reason that for the newfound energy and everything. So I think that, definitely we were recharged, and really wanted to be able to start kicking some ass again, definitely.
Well, that's really amazing. Now, after Darkane, you've been active with James, appearing on his new album. You've also done the the drum lines for this previous album as well. So,
Yeah.
as an individual, okay, let's keep Dream Theater aside. As an individual, how do you feel, James? With the experience he has, how do you feel as a person? You worked with him, so how's the environment working with James?
I mean, he's a really fantastic guy. He's extremely down to earth guy, and of course he's got a lot of routine and he not a lot of knowledge about the whole music scene and everything. And he's very very he's open minded in a way too, because he really wants to embrace like the death metal vocals that I'm doing on the albums, the screams, and I was kind of surprised that they wanted it. But Matt, the keyboard player who also writes most of the songs, and James, they wanted to have it, like this kind of, they call it the Swedish metal style, vibe to it. So, and I was actually surprised. But James is very open minded about it, and he also thinks it's cool to experiment a bit more, with more like song structures and more song-based stuff, keeping a bit away from the Dream Theater kind of progressive
Right, the
style,
writing was quite, was solid this time. I've kind of noticed that, while you guys were writing stuff, I don't know whether you were part of the songwriting along with James and Marco, but I've seen your studio updates when you posted. So, were you part of the writing process?
Not really this time around. I mean, it's mostly Matt Guillory, the keyboard player, writing the songs, and Marco did help on some parts. And this time around, also Peter Wildoer, who used to play with Soilwork before, he was also contributing a lot to. I think he's worked with Matt on at least half of the tracks, or even more. So, but Matt is definitely the main songwriter, and he really likes, songs, he loves like Katy Perry and stuff like that too, so he loves, the craft of writing a good pop melody and a good pop rock kind of song. So, and that's what he tried to do with the songwriting for James too, and that's what James wants also, he wants to, get away from the 14, 15 minutes long songs, with a lot of different parts in it, and keeping it more, right on the spot, just
simple and best.
Get to the point. Yeah. And I would say, I think the songwriting on the new album Impermanent Resonance is actually fabulous. I think it's very great.
It's probably the best I've heard from the entire discography of James. And at the same time, honestly, I need to share this with you. I don't know, your opinions on this. I felt that the album got overshadowed by the new Dream Theater album.
Yeah, I think it was too close to, everybody were talking and they were waiting for the new Dream Theater album, So definitely it was overshadowed by that. And it should have been released,
There should have been a gap because, I heard Agony when it was released. The first voice in the album I heard was of your when the song starts. And after a few weeks, everybody started talking about Dream Theater. I was wondering, this album is a rock solid album. It deserves a lot of attention, but it was completely overshadowed by Dream Theater.
Definitely. I mean, almost. When the Impermanent Resonance album was released, then they were already releasing the first few songs from the like teasers from the new Dream Theater album. So definitely got overshadowed, and it should have been a bigger gap in between. That's for sure. And also if it would have been more in between the Dream Theater albums, we would have been able to go on tour right away with James, But now the thing will be that James wants to finish the touring, and because they didn't tour for when the album was out with James, but he was already doing promotion touring for Dream Theater already in September, so he wasn't able to go on tour, James, and now he said he wanted to go on tour, but that would be after the Dream Theater stuff, and I mean. They will be touring all of 2014.
It's 2014 is already booked, an evening with Dream Theater.
Yeah, and also probably they will do some stuff, in the early 2015, and by the summer of 2015 they will be most likely be done, and I don't know if that'll be like 2 years, after the album was released, and I don't know if it's going to be able to tour then, but we'll see what happens. But definitely it got overshadowed a bit, and that was of course not too cool, but yeah, that's what happened.
Right, that's true. I haven't seen Darkane live as well as Dream Theater. So I was
Yeah.
eagerly like, okay, you guys are gonna go on tour. You're gonna be drumming behind with the mic in front of
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah.
the vocals and drum attack would be on us, but I don't know when is that gonna happen. But whenever it's
Oh,
gonna happen, I'm gonna be ready for it.
That's great, man. I do hope it will happen.
Wonderful. Now, people have always said that you have a very unique drumming style. And when I listen to Darkane as well as James LaBrie, I sometimes wonder, was it easy for you to play the drum parts for these two albums? It's different in their own way.
Yeah, they're very different in their own way, I would say. But it's never, I'm trying to keep, like, for example, for the Darkane stuff, it's a bit more. It's more furious, of course, and it's harder and faster and kind of
Velocity-driven.
music. Yeah, yeah. So I would say that for the Darkane drum parts, you can kind of go a little bit more outside of what's the normal beats and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I try to do with James is that I try to keep kind of close to the songs and not being in the way, not overplaying,
Mm-hmm.
but whenever there is time for me to do like a cool drum fill or a cool beat, I definitely grab that stuff and try to do it really like more progressive or whatever. So
Right.
but I mean it's as I said before, now when I started practicing, because I do a lot of the stuff I do on those two records are like stuff. It's of course it has evolved, but it's kind of based around the same kind of basics that I've been doing for a lot of years. So
Right.
and I really look forward to some new recordings this year, or and where I actually can, as I'm practicing right
Yeah,
now.
I was
A lot of
about
new
to
stuff,
ask you. I was about to ask
Yeah.
you that you're practicing today, so there are some parts in your mind which you want to nail in
Definitely.
the next
Yeah,
record, whoever you're working with.
yeah, definitely. There will be some new ideas definitely put into my playing, and then and still, I do have, in a way. I mean, there are so many good drummers out there today, and I'm a huge fan of course, of like a lot of people are like the gospel chops kind of stuff,
Yep.
and Eric Moore and all those guys, and but the thing is that I'm trying to find inspiration, and I often go back to kind of my favorites. I love Sean Rayner to play with Cynic, and Death.
Hmm.
I think he's one of my favorite drummers, and I'm also trying to learn like some kind of Virgil Donati stuff, and
Oh,
like with Independence kind of stuff like that. And actually in the song In the Absence of Pain on the new Darkane album,
hmm,
there are some really really difficult parts. I would say
yep.
those are the most difficult parts I've ever recorded, I guess.
Wow.
But it's not easy to hear, but it's actually because I play like a crasher with my left foot at the same time, but
Hmm.
like on a polyrhythmic kind of way. And some of those stuff are really complicated, and not everything comes across when you listen to it, but
Yep.
but it's enjoyable for me to play it, so that's why I do it too.
That's great. That's great. You heard the new Cynic single? They released two singles.
They did. I
Oh,
didn't know that. No, I haven't. I will definitely look for that right away.
damn.
Is it good?
Oh, I was blown away because I never expect anything from Paul. I know that guy is a puzzle, so
Yeah, yeah.
I generally keep it away. But the two singles they released, they are phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
you gotta check them out. It's different
Is
from
it
what they
still?
have done from the last few years.
Yeah, because at some point, I'm still like my favorite album is still Focus. I would
Focus.
say.
Oh,
It's
wonderful.
it's great, and Traced in Air. Those albums are also good. And everything they did like Agora and stuff like that. But
Right.
it's not the magic that was in Focus. I mean, I really love that kind of blend of fusion and metal music. But I mean, as you said, both Paul and Sean, they're like amazing musicians, and you never know what to
What's
expect.
exactly?
I will definitely look into that. As soon as we're done.
Oh, well, that's really great. Now, 2014. What plans do you have? We have had a pleasure to see George Kolias coming in to India for a
Yeah,
drum clinic. We
yeah,
had a privilege to see Virgil Jonati as well. I don't know
yeah.
when are you gonna come. So come on, man. You just gotta come here.
Dude, I mean, that's the thing that I will actually like to do way more is actually doing drum clinics, because I did like a tour in Italy last year, and I did quite a few clinics here in Sweden. I did, a couple of drum festivals here in
Right.
Sweden, and I did in Spain and Seville. I did a drum festival, and that's something I really really enjoy doing, and I mean, I'm in contact with Tama drums, and Manual cymbals, and trying to
Right.
make them, you know, push it and be able to go somewhere else. But India would have been amazing, and I was actually planning to go. That's more. It's like 10 years ago from now, I guess, or maybe even more. 10, 12 years ago, I was actually studying tabla drumming. So here in Sweden,
Oh, wow.
for and this guy, he was actually playing. He was a sitar player actually,
Hmm.
but he was very very. In my opinion, he was a fantastic tabla player too. Even he didn't consider himself being a tabla player, of course, but he learned it because he was studying at the music conservatory in Bombay. He
Uh-huh.
had studied there, so and he met a girl from Sweden, so he moved here,
Uh-huh.
and he was still a professional musician when he was here, and he was touring a lot with his
Group.
duo, and so
Hmm.
I was actually studying tabla playing for a year, and I learned some da 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 da, all these.
Ah, wonderful.
Yeah,
I am a tabla player as well. I'm not a great tabla player. Pretty
yeah,
much you would say an average. I started with that in my school days, but
cool.
unfortunately lost touch because of the corporate world.
Yeah, and that's I think it's a tradition that needs to be kept alive, and
Yes,
and and
absolutely.
and I still I'm like a huge fan of Zakir Hussain,
Zakir
stuff
Hussain,
like that.
right? Yeah.
So and of course, and one of my earlier like fusion drummer influences was actually Trilok Gurtu, and Trilok and I heard him playing with John McLaughlin, and then
Hmm.
the guitar player, and I was blown away by the sound. I didn't understand what it was.
Uh-huh.
And Trilok he's been living in Germany, in Hamburg, for many years, but I mean he's originally from India, and he's like a great tabla player, of course, too. But he also incorporate the more Western jazz rock
Right.
kind of
Lot of
scene,
styles.
a lot of styles, and that's been a big influence on me. And when I was studying tabla, I was actually planning to go to India for half a year, just studying more tabla playing, and then getting into the environment and stuff. But unfortunately, it never happened. So, but I maybe in 2014, I will get the opportunity to go to India. That would be amazing, because I love the culture, I love the food, I love the music. So it would be amazing actually.
That's wonderful. I recommend you have to go to in Chennai. There is one,
Chennai.
yeah, there's
Ah,
one university called Swarna Bhumi.
okay, okay,
It's a musical probably an organization.
yeah,
Recently, 1 year back, Jordan Rudess had come there. So
yeah,
yes, so that's purely for musicians to come and enhance their knowledge. So
yeah.
whenever you're coming,
Oh,
just an email would be enough for me. I'll run away. I'll run
dude,
away.
I would definitely love to do that, and you're welcome to contact me anytime, and my email is just peter@darkane.com.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
if I get your email, I will definitely contact you if I get the opportunity to go to India, that's for sure. And if you have any options, or openings or contacts that I should contact, just feel free to email me. I'm
Sure, sure, sure. No,
because
that's
that would be really cool, of course.
great, great. Anytime, no problem at all. Now, since we're talking about the different styles, there's one question I wanted to ask.
Yeah,
I had a chat with Gene a month back, Gene
yeah,
Hoglan,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that guy incorporates a lot of unusual sounds like
yeah,
bombshells,
yeah,
propellers, etc.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
what do you think about those being incorporated into metal when you play with, let's say, Darkane or James LaBrie?
I
Do you
mean, I
think those
mean,
things kind of enhance the drummers?
definitely, yeah, definitely. I mean, Gene has been a huge influence on me, and the first time I heard anything like this, I do like a lot of the bell playing and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and I really like that. And the first time I heard it was actually on Lack of Comprehension in
Yep.
in
Yeah.
'91, with Sean playing the bell of the Hyatt and on the right, and
Yes.
and I was hooked right, right that very second I was hooked, you know. And so later on, I never got to see Death with Sean on drums. But I got to see them, you know, two or three times with Gene, you know, and that back then he was playing a lot of, you know, the propellers and you know, and all this stuff, you know,
right.
And I got so much influence. So that's when I actually got my first bell. I actually cut it out of a you know, like an old crash cymbal. I cut a bell out of it, you know, and so no, I think that really enhanced the playing, you know, and then also incorporating, you know, like different sounds and different, you know, not only musical stuff, but also different gear, you know, like, and at the moment, for example, as I told you, that, like, nowadays I play a lot of this kind of a ribbon crasher. Manuel calls it the turbo crasher.
Okay.
But it's a crasher, so it's three metal pieces just on top of each other, and it's a percussive instrument, but it just sounds like it's just like a crash,
cool.
you know. And I think also Derek Roddy is using it too with his foot, you know. So that's what I'm trying to use a lot with my foot, because sometimes you don't hear when I play the hi-hat with my foot, you know. For example, in Darkane, it's you need a louder kind of sound, you know, to cut through.
Right.
So now I think it's really cool to you know, incorporate different you know, new elements in your kit. That's for sure.
That's wonderful. It kind of reminded me. The moment I said hello to Gene, and he said, "Hey, dude, this is Gene from just another metal band in this world," and I'm like, Jesus, what can I say?
He's a legend, you know. He's such a sweetheart. He's a cool guy, you know. And it's I actually was fortunate enough to tour with him a couple of times. So I've been, you know, I've been asking him so many questions about the different stuff he's been doing in the past. You know, he's a great storyteller too. So
oh, great.
And he's a cool guy, definitely. He's amazing.
Wonderful. Peter, I wish to thank you for your time to answer this interview.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and please, anytime, just email me at peter@darkane.com, and I will get your contact, you know, and stay in touch, man.
Sure. Any last words for your fans in India?
I just hope to be able to go to India for sure. I mean, we were actually very close at one point to go to a festival with Darkane, but it never happened. But I really, really hope they will, go there. It has to happen.
For me, everybody, almost like 90% of the bands I interview say, you know what, we were supposed to go there, but something happened and we couldn't come.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess you've heard it before. Yeah, but it's I do hope it will happen, you know, and at least, you know, so. I really would love to go there to do some clinics too, as you said, you know, and just, you know, for myself to study some you know, classical Indian stuff, you know, Indian music and Tal and stuff like that. It would be really cool, actually.
Wonderful, Peter. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you so much for your time, man. Take care.